Hello everyone. Joining us today is Masao Yoshida, the Nuclear Asset Manager for TEPCO. He's here on behalf of the entire engineering team at the Fukushima reactor. Masao Yoshida, thanks for joining us.
Well, it's a great pleasure. Thank you for having me.
This nuclear power plant on the eastern coast of Japan that was involved in the incident the
Yeah,
other
the
day.
one that blew up?
Yeah, that one.
Well, it's not very typical. I'd just like to make that clear.
How's that untypical?
Well, there are 450 nuclear power plants operating around the world at all times, and very seldom does anything like this ever happen. I just don't want people thinking power plants are unsafe.
Was this plant safe?
Well, I was thinking more about the other ones,
The ones that are safe?
the ones that don't blow up.
Well, if this one wasn't safe, how come you had 6 reactors going in an area with 170,000 people nearby?
Well, I'm not saying it wasn't safe. It's just perhaps not quite as safe as some of the other ones.
Why?
Well, some of them are built so they don't blow up at all.
Well, wasn't this one built so it wouldn't blow up?
Well, obviously not.
How do you know?
Because it blew up and released 15 quadrillion becquerels of cesium-137 into the environment, displacing 170,000 people. It's a bit of a giveaway. I just like to make it clear that this is not normal.
Well, what sort of standards are these nuclear power plants built to?
Very rigorous nuclear engineering standards.
What sort of things?
Well, it's not supposed to blow up for a start.
What other things?
Well, there are regulations governing what type of materials they can be made of.
What materials?
Cardboard's out.
And?
No cardboard derivatives.
Like paper?
No paper. No pulp. No string.
Rubber?
Nope, rubber's out. It's got to have a control panel. It has a minimum crew requirement.
What's the minimum crew?
Well, one, I suppose. There's also very strict guidelines on documentation of making changes to the plant.
Did you follow those guidelines?
Yeah, for the most part.
For the most part?
We did, except for one thing.
What was that thing?
Well, originally there were 2 cooling pipes, and we connected them into one. It's a small change, really. No need to note it down.
Well, did it behave as predicted?
Well, not quite. It didn't cool as well.
Is cooling important?
Oh yes, it gets quite steamy without proper cooling. But the point is that these facilities are very, very safe.
According to the PEO Act, Professional Misconduct subsection, TEPCO violated Section 72.2 A, D, and G when they changed the plant's cooling system without noting the changes, in direct conflict with Japanese regulations. Furthermore, Section 77.1.5 of the PEO Act Code of Ethics subsection was also breached, as it was incompetent of TEPCO to ignore or be unaware of regulations already in effect. Lastly, any engineer working on or administrating the changes to the cooling system would have breached Section 72.1c and 77.1.3 of the PEO Act, as they did not report the breach of regulations, which could have and did result in negative consequences to the public. According to Canadian law, these actions could warrant legal action on the grounds of TEPCO not doing their due diligence, as they did not exercise the level of judgment expected from a government agency in charge of power generation. They may also suffer legal consequences on the grounds of criminal negligence for reasons previously listed. TEPCO could have avoided these problems by simply following the regulations and noting the changes.
So the allegations that these power plants are designed strictly to generate as much power as possible, regardless of any consequences.
Absolutely ludicrous. These stations are very, very reliable.
Well, what happened in this case?
Well, a plant blew up in this case, by all means. It's very unusual.
Mr. Masao, why did the plant blow up?
Well, a wave hit it.
A wave?
A wave hit the plant.
Is that unusual?
Oh, at the coast? Chance in a million.
Power plants on the coast are designed to deal with waves, aren't they?
Well, this was a rather big wave. It was caused by an earthquake.
Didn't you know the plant was on a large fault line, and thusly you should be expecting big waves?
No, we had no idea.
Mr. Masao, I have it here that there was a study done in 2008 warning you about inadequate wave protection.
Well, you know the thing about studies.
What's the thing about studies?
Well, they're studies. They're not always right.
Were they right in this case?
Well, in this case it was, but there were plenty of other cases. It didn't blow up for quite some time.
By disregarding both in-house and external studies relating to safety concerns with the reactor, Section 77.14 of the PEO Code of Ethics was broken, as TEPCO was deliberately dismissing studies containing new information that could have resulted in a safer reactor. This also means TEPCO breached 77.2A and 77.2D of the PEO Act, as despite knowing there was reason to be concerned about the safety of the plant, TEPCO did not make any effort to accommodate for this risk. This ultimately breaks Section 77.2I, as TEPCO disregarded its duty to the welfare of the public by not ensuring its plant was as safe as possible. The legal ramification of this decision is similar to the legal ramification discussed earlier. While it is not illegal to dismiss studies, TEDCO should have done their due diligence and take precaution based on the information in the studies, or at the very least conduct more studies. This poor judgment on TEDCO's part could be considered a lack of due diligence and resulted in legal action. Once again, TEDCO could face charges of criminal negligence as well.
After the wave hit it, did you have backup generators?
Yes, of course. We had backup generators in the off chance there was actually a flood.
Did you use them?
No.
Why not?
Well, because they got flooded.
Where were they kept?
In the basement.
Mr. Masao, why were they kept in the basement?
Well, because they were backup. We didn't want them getting in the way of daily operations upstairs. Besides, we had 3 other spare generators in the nearby building anyway.
What happened with those ones?
Well, that building was flooded too, unfortunately.
So how long did it take you to get new generators?
Almost 3 hours.
3 hours? What? What took so long?
Well, there was a lot of debate over whether or not to tell the folks higher up that something was wrong.
Why would you need to debate that? Isn't it obvious that you should let them know?
Do you want to be the one to tell your boss that you messed up? I would think not.
The different levels of the hierarchy that dragged their feet giving update to the higher levels violated 72.2c of the professional misconduct subsection, as they failed to report a situation that endangers public safety. Furthermore, the decision not to report the situation is most likely a result of practitioners fearing repercussion, meaning that section 72.2a and 77.2i of the PEO Act were both broken, as the practitioners placed their standing within the company above the public. However, this also means that TEPCO, as an organization, is breaking 77.2i of the Code of Ethics, as they have created a corporate environment where engineers can be punished for acting honorably. Once again, the legal consequences of these actions are the same as before. TEPCO did not do anything outright illegal, but at the same time, they did not do their due diligence in reporting updates of the situation to the administrators. This resulted in large delays in getting relief equipment to the area, which could constitute criminal negligence.
So what do you do to protect the environment and people in cases like this?
Well, we got rid of the environment.
You got rid of the environment?
Yeah, we got everything out of there.
But it's still an environment.
No. We got rid of the environment. There is no environment. It's just a void on the coast, nothing there, no people, no nothing.
Well, what's in the void?
Nothing's in the void. That's why it's a void.
Well, there must be something in there.
There's nothing in there. All there is 3 kilometers squared of unusable land and some birds and some fish.
And
radiation.
And what else?
And the radioactive reactors.
And anything else?
And an abandoned power plant that blew up. But there's nothing else in there.
Mr. Masao, thanks for joining us this evening.
It's just a complete void.
We're out of time.
It's just, there's no environment. Oh, wait, we're out of time?
Yeah.
Can you book me a cab?
Didn't you come in a Commonwealth car?
I did.
What happened?
Oh, it blew up.